Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Tempo League. I'm Barrett Dastrup. Today we are going to talk all about the rebound stroke. It's also called the free stroke. It changed my drumming. Absolutely changed my drumming. So we're going to talk about, first of all, what it even is. We're going to talk about why it's important, how to play it correctly, an exercise that you can do to get better. So stick around. Okay, so what the free stroke is. Here's the free stroke. Left hand. When you build up speed. Okay, so all the free stroke is you basically throwing the stick down and having it come back up with you doing almost nothing at all, right? You're basically dribbling the stick as if you were going to dribble a basketball. And the way I like to do it, and we'll talk about this more in a second, but you have your stick bead past vertical, and you throw it down, hit the center of the head, aim for the center, and then have it come back up past vertical. Okay? Now that's what a free stroke is. I'm kind of changing between free stroke and rebound stroke. Just know it's the same thing, right? So that is what the free stroke is, but why is it so important? So for me, this helped unlock flow. You see drummers that seem really loose and they're flowing around the kit. It's not going to be overnight, but as you learn to do this and you get it built into your muscle memory, you will be so much looser. Because really with the free stroke, you're barely hanging on to the stick. You really are barely hanging on. You think about the difference of doing this and letting this, you're tapping into the stick doing most of the work. You're tapping into the motion that the stick makes. Naturally, if you kind of do as little as possible and you kind of get out of the way, you're tapping into that. And it's going to translate after many, many reps into your hand being looser. That's going to be a smoother sounding stroke. It's going to translate around the kit, not just in a practice setting on a pad. Like, you're going to feel a big difference. One example I always think back to is just a 4/4 rock groove, you know? Kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, right? So we could play that. And if you're a beginner and you're really tight, you're grasping the sticks really hard, the 4/4 rock groove might sound something like this. Okay? Trying to exaggerate a little bit for effect. But when you get the free stroke down and you start flowing, this type of sound comes much more naturally. The kind of flavor on the hi-hat. Right? That's what I'm talking about. I was able to kind of fake that before learning the free stroke. But when you learn the free stroke, you tap in to that being the most natural feeling. Kind of hard to explain. Maybe it's not making a ton of sense, but I'm telling you, it's going to make a huge difference in your drumming. There's obviously other hand techniques you need to learn to do that type of stuff, but the free stroke was the beginning for me. The other thing is the free stroke taught me to be super loose to where these fingers are just resting on the stick. They're really not doing anything. I could play this with just the fulcrum like this. My fingers are off, you see that? And that's awesome because then your fingers can actually play it, so you get a better double. That's how I learned to actually add like beef to my second double instead of just bouncing it. It's like you can actually add some oomph to that second double. So that's what the free stroke does as well. So what are the things to think about when you play a free stroke? We've talked about it a little bit, but let's go into it in more depth. The stick bead should be past vertical. Okay? Not like this, but just not straight up. A little bit past vertical. your thumb and finger lightly holding the stick. That's your fulcrum, right? In this case. I have Vic Firth 5As, so I go to the American flag. Very lightly holding the stick. I mean, you should be able to absolutely do this. It's not, if I squeeze too tight, it's not going anywhere. I should have it loose enough that I could knock it right out of my hand, right? That's a good thing. That's a good thing if you have it loose enough to be able to do that, right? Instead of having it too tight. Okay, you get the idea. So nice and loose, fingers are lightly wrapped around the stick. Very lightly wrapped around the stick there. And then we are going to start pass vertical. We're going to aim for the center of the head. Your elbow is right by your side. Okay, it's not out here. Just right naturally, loosely by your side. Arm is pretty much level. And then I am going to play, I'm in American grip. So I'm not coming, this is French grip, like straight down. I'm not doing that. It's not German grip where your palm is facing the ceiling and you're coming like this. It's American grip, so it's in between. I'm like this, and I'm coming down like that at the pad. Bam. Okay? So that's the angle that I'm taking. And it's really just my wrist that is operating. You can see I'm not, nothing like that. It's just bam. Again, try to aim for the center. Center of your pad or your drum. So you don't want to have your fingers, try to wrap your fingers around the stick as much as possible. Like I said, there's exercises you can do where you just do it with the fulcrum, but that's just to train your ability to hold the stick without the fingers on there. You ultimately want to get your fingers back on there. But by all means, if you want to practice this just with your fulcrum, to get that feel, pull your fingers off. Okay, this is probably better. Put your fingers off to the side like this. You can do that, but don't do that too long. When you get the fulcrum feeling good, wrap your fingers around. The other thing is when you start this, you might have it pop out like that. It's just going too far back. That can be a result of your fingers not being on there, and you just don't have the control yet. Believe me, when you start this, it's going to feel weird. It's deceptive. It seems really easy, but it's not. Because when you start off, you're going to think you're doing it right, but pay attention. When you hit the center of the pad, the stick should bounce back past vertical. And if it doesn't come back past vertical, it's probably because you're applying some kind of pressure that you shouldn't be applying. So if it's like that, you grabbed the stick too early. Or you might be tricking yourself and holding the stick hard, and you hit the pad and bring it back up by yourself. It's not this. This is me smacking the pad and pulling it back up myself. But when you bounce a basketball, you get out of the way. You throw it down, it hits and comes back up. When I throw it down, I'm essentially imagine my hand is gone. It's just coming down, hitting, and coming back up. That might be a stupid way to explain it, but when you have a basketball, you throw it down and your hand stays up here. The ball hits and comes back to your hand. We're trying to simulate that. Get your hand out of the way. On the way down, hitting and coming back up your hand isn't acting on the stick whatsoever. And when you're doing this, if you're dropping the sticks all over the place right as you're starting, that's good. That means that you're staying loose enough for that to happen. Okay? Okay, so we're doing it up top right now, just to get the motion and understand the stick coming back past vertical. That's very important to stay loose. But as you start going faster and faster, your stick beads are going to come down. And when you play drums, you're not playing like this, you know? Whoa, that's ugly. Yikes. You're not playing, I mean, you try to play with a stick height like that, it's going to be a disaster. So you're not doing that. But the principles we learn and drill into our bodies at this stick height, you know, we're going to carry those with us as we go down. So when you get lower, that all comes from nice, slow practice at higher stick heights and then moving it down. I'm telling you, without the free stroke, I would still be locked into the drumming ceiling that I hit like pretty quick without any kind of lessons or direction. And you can have fun, but just holding the stick too tight and not unlocking the power of your fingers and not flowing and feeling loose, it's kind of a bummer. And the free stroke is what opened all of that up for me. So the practice that I would say you should do, put a metronome on at 60 BPM. If that's too slow, you can bump it up. But start off by just playing on the quarter note, right? So it's going to be real slow. I'll actually put a practice at the end of this. You can follow along. But it's going to be like, dit, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? And do that for 5 minutes a day for a whole week. And you'll start to feel your muscle memory just lock in on this, and it will start to open up to you. Don't try to go too fast too soon. Really spend the time. Do a whole week at just a low tempo. And don't try to string stuff together too quickly. Again, you're going to get to where you can do this thing. But don't worry about that too early. Just start off with. And when you're doing it, make sure, again, checklist, you're hitting the center of the pad. The stick bead is starting past vertical. It's hitting and coming right back up on its own momentum past vertical. Your fingers are wrapped around the stick lightly. You're not holding it against your palm. Your fulcrum isn't sliding up and down. It will at the beginning, but as you do this more, you'll have more control. Don't worry about the stick sliding around at the beginning. Just keep practicing and you'll work that out. Again, if you're having trouble with your fulcrum, you can isolate it. Pull your fingers off the stick like this and do the same thing. Okay? That is the free stroke, aka the rebound stroke. I hope that I drove home how important this is and that it made sense. You can see that as you do this, you're just loose. You're more loose, right? Rather than holding the stick tight and trying to move around, and it's really abrupt and kind of sharp. Instead, you're flowing, right? And that's what the free stroke unlocks. Also, it's a healthier way to play. If you think about holding the stick really tight and just smacking the drum, I mean, the shock from that hit's going to go up your stick into your hand. It's going to cause problems. It's going to cause injuries. You don't want that. So this is the free stroke. Please spend time with it. It will pay dividends. It will make you so much of a better drummer. It'll make you a better drummer, that's for sure. Thank you for checking out Tempo League. Head on over to tempoleague.com. Check out my Better Hands course. There's more exercises, way more hand technique than just the free stroke, though it's so foundational. But from here, you dive into lots of other things that are going to help your hands and make you a better drummer. Thanks again for checking this out. I hope you have a great week.